I'm Johnny from Expert Boxing. Right now I'm going to talk to you guys about avoiding hand injuries in boxing. Hand injuries are very common in fighting. It's a very common problem, happens to many guys. And there are many reasons for this. I think the biggest reason of all is that your hands are a fragile part of your body. Okay? It's made up of a bunch of tiny, small, fragile bones. It's just not meant to take that much force. I know people out there are saying, oh, if you have good technique, if you know how to condition your hands, toughen your hands, punch brick walls, your hands will be in great shape. The truth is, your hand's just not a strong bone to begin with. Okay? If I take my hand with the best technique, with the best hand condition, whatever, and I throw it at a hard elbow bone like this, the hand's gonna lose. If I take my hand and throw it at the head, which is a denser bone, the hand will lose, okay? I don't think that my opponent's skull is gonna crack in half. Most likely my hand is gonna crack in half. So that's the truth. Anytime you take your hand, you're throwing it at a harder object, there's only so much you could do. Eventually the hand takes the abuse and it's damaged. All that stuff about that the hand should never get damaged, it's not true. Also, when you're fighting, you're in a real fight against a live moving opponent. You don't get to throw with perfect technique every time. You don't get to land. Maybe when you hit a guy's head, his hand moves. So you may bend your hand, it may land on the wrong knuckle, maybe you aim for the right knuckle, but now because he moved, it hits from a wrong angle, it bends your wrist, it puts stress on your hand from a different angle, and you ultimately get a hand injury. So, with a lot of things going on, two guys moving fast, throwing at each other, blocking, slipping, shifting, sliding, anything can happen. So first, you gotta protect your hands. Wear hand wraps, wear the full length hand wraps. You should be getting the full 180-inch hand wrap. Wrap it around your hand, learn how to do it. I have a video on my YouTube channel, or if your coach knows how to do it, learn how to wrap your hands. You can use all the extra padding, gauze, all that, up to you. What I don't recommend is using those gel, they have the like Everlast, they make these gel cushion wraps, hand wraps. It looks cool, it looks kind of like a biker's glove or something. Those things, I really don't like them. They have cushion, yeah, they cushion your impact, the hand from impact, but you have your gloves to do the cushioning for you. What those things don't do is that they don't secure your hand together. You need a hand wrap that kind of ties your hand together, ties the small bones to prevent it from moving around and spreading. Okay, that's what a hand wrap does, and those gel cushion wraps, they don't secure your hand. So I don't like them. Use real hand wraps. Next thing we gotta talk about is gloves. You should be using quality gloves. You know, at some point in your career, once you've been boxing beyond a year, 2 years, you have real technique, you have true power punching abilities, you have to wrap your hands, you gotta use quality gloves. You can't be buying $30 gloves from Big 5 Sports or from your local liquor store, your local clothing store. Buy real gloves, new gloves, break them in yourself so they fit your hand perfectly and they protect you. What type of gloves to get? If you're hitting the heavy bag or focus mitts or any hard surfaces, use bag gloves, because bag gloves have a thicker, denser foam. It gives you more protection, it absorbs the impact better for you. Okay? Sparring gloves are softer, they're more cushioned, that way you don't hurt your sparring buddies. But using sparring gloves on a heavy bag, probably not a good idea. Also, glove size. If 12 ounce is not enough for you, use 14 ounce. 14 ounce is not enough for you, use 16 ounce. 16 ounce is not enough for you, use 18 ounce. So whatever, you gotta use bigger gloves to cushion your hands. Alright? Some pros will use even bigger gloves, or they'll avoid the heavy bag altogether because they don't want to abuse their hands anymore, and they don't need the heavy bag anyway. Another thing we have to talk about is overtraining. If you're overdoing it, okay, you're beating your hands on the heavy bag, you shouldn't be on the heavy bag for an hour a day. That's too much. 3 to 6 rounds tops, and then move on. Do the double end bag, the speed bag, shadow box, mitts, sparring drills, head movement drills, strength and conditioning. You shouldn't be beating the heavy bag for an hour a day. It won't do anything for your skill anyway. Probably won't do anything for your power anyway. So don't overtrain. That's a big thing. If you have an injury, stop. Hit lighter. Use a bigger glove. Do different drills. Don't put yourself in a position where you can build an injury on top of your existing injury. Last thing is technique. How you aim your punches. General guidelines. Some people believe you should be aiming for the middle believe you should aim for the first 2 knuckles when you land the punch. I believe first 2 knuckles. Some people like middle knuckle. I think it's okay. But last 2 knuckle, definitely not the last 2 knuckle. There might be other martial arts who do it. I don't believe in it. That's the truth. Regardless of how you decide to choose your hand, I think the most important thing is you have to straighten your wrist. So let's say I'm punching down. Make sure the wrist is straight. It's not bent like this, like that. Also, get the elbow behind your punch. This is supported. This is not supported. This is not supported. Okay, so whatever angle that you throw the punch from, get the elbow to come behind it to support the shock. And that'll support the whole arm and disperse the shock all the way down your arm and through your bone. If you don't get the elbow behind it, then you have a bent wrist problem and you'll hurt your hands that way. Last thing is strategy. You know, where are you aiming? Don't aim for the elbow. If the guy has his elbows down and you go for a body shot and you hit his elbows, that's gonna hurt like hell. If you keep aiming for the top of his head, oh, and this thing came off. If you aim for the top of his head and he like slips around, you might, your wrist might bend. I'm not saying don't go for the head, just watch out, pay attention to your strategy. So don't overdo it, protect your hands, be good to your hands so you can use them for many years inside the ring and outside the ring. But just be aware that the hand injuries can happen to anybody, it doesn't matter. You can have the best technique in the world, the best hand conditioning, hand strengthening exercises in the world. You can still hurt your hand because the hand is pretty fragile compared to what you're beating it against. I'm Johnny from Expert Boxing. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also check out my website, expertboxing.com, for more great boxing tips.